Hey y'all, I'm in my backyard. We're working, getting me some black-eyed Susans. They're apparently good for colds and flu and like a diuretic, I think. That's what I've been doing today, but it's a full moon today and I wanted to kind of update, if you guys want to hear it, about the stars, because I get into that. So I just wanted to share with what I came up with for today's full moon, which is in Capricorn, which is an earth sign. And so I was thinking about it and looking at everything. And yesterday we had Mars turn retrograde, which is our kind of the will to action that we all possess, like our will to move forward. That's what Mars represents. And anytime a planet goes retrograde, it represents a turn inward. And so I was thinking, and I was like, there was some point in my life that I realized life was like a choose your own adventure book. I was really enthralled by these as a kid, and I would actually read like the one storyline I would choose and see where my intuition took me, and I'd read it, but then I would go back and I would read the other storyline because I wanted to know like what would happen and did I choose the right story. It was like a game I played with myself, and it was really kind of an indispensable lesson, because the lesson always was there's no way to know which choice you're making is right. And I think the one thing that messed with me, the lesson I learned, is that it was knowing both storylines that really messed with me. So then you would kick yourself in the butt for choosing the wrong storyline. Like, oh, the other one was better. Why didn't my intuition tell me that? Which is a waste of time, really. But it does make you pause before you make decisions, I think, learning lessons like that. But I think the better lesson was that once I let both storylines go, I'd move on to the next book. And so I feel like that's what this Mars retrograde is kind of saying about our lives right now. We may be looking at these storylines and like we can clearly see the other storyline a little bit, like the one we didn't choose. What could have happened if I'd chosen that path? Or, there's an astrologer named Christopher Witecki, and he says quit shooting all over the place. Of course, he's playing on the cuss word, but that is a good lesson for the next few months, for this summer, is to quit shoulding all over the place. I should have done that. So it's time to forgive yourself for the should haves and the wish I would haves, So the place where Mars retrograde just looks like it's going backwards in the sky to us. It's not actually going backwards, but it will be its brightest and closest to Earth the next month or two. I think it turns back in August. So we call that, when it slows down visually for us, we call that stationing retrograde, meaning stopping. And the place where it stopped is Aquarius 9 degrees. And so there's a guy named Dane Rudyard, and he wrote little stories and lessons for each degree of the zodiac. And his story or lesson for 10th degree of Aquarius, which is what you read, is a man who had, for a time, become the embodiment of a popular ideal is made to realize that as a person, he is not this ideal. The keynote being the need to deal with human beings as persons rather than as screens upon which one projects one's dream and ideal. Star's popularity fades away and the person remains. What has this episode of popularity actually done to the person? This is a question that can be applied to a great variety of circumstances. It brings to our attention an issue that is basic and may confront us in various forms. Person versus archetype. This can mean a critical need for self-reevaluation. or self-revaluation. I don't know how you say that. It's a perfect story for, I think, where humanity is. We've all been subjected to the greatest experiment ever conducted on Earth with humans, and maybe the largest popularity contest there ever could be with social media, with Facebook and Instagram and all the things. You know, it's kind of like the veil has been lifted since Mark Zuckerberg had to go to task with the U.S. government. We kind of realized the lie we've been pulled into, that we must communicate on this platform and we must excel on this platform, or, you know, we're going to die. So when we found out that we've been all kind of being, you know, used for advertising, and our thoughts and our desires are being used to help people make money, and it kind of takes the veil down, you know, it's like crashing down. And the version of ourselves that we've built online is like kind of not a thing anymore. You can see through it. The pendulum feels like it's swinging. So it's been building up for years, obviously, with the advent of Facebook in 2006, whatever, or whenever it was. It's just sort of like leaving a shell of what we thought for the last 10 years we were doing. So now we have the full moon in Capricorn, and that is earth energy. Aquarius is air energy. And Aquarius is the future, and it represents the internet. And that's why I bring all this up. And it's with Saturn in Capricorn, Earth on Earth, and we're supposed to be moving into the age of Aquarius. You can't do that without being centered in this reality, which is what Earth does. And so we have Uranus and Taurus as well. Venus is going to go retrograde in Virgo. So it's almost like, hey, bring it down to earth. All of this stuff we've been doing way up here in our brains and in our collective consciousness on Facebook, it's time to bring it down. And I think people are realizing, what have we been eating? What have we been doing with our lives? Typing on the internet, and, you know, and all of a sudden I'm into herbalism and plants, and I've just got this huge drive to bring it back down to this reality where we are. And here I am kind of bridging the gap. I'm showing my reality on the internet. You can't have the heavens without the firmament, nor can you have the firmament without the heavens, I think. I don't even know if those words are right. Firmament, earth, heavens. You can't have any of it without each other, without one the other. Not in this reality. We all chose to come to earth. Our souls did for some reason. And so we have to deal with earthly realities. So if we're going to enter the age of Aquarius, which has been romanticized as this everyone gets along paradise kind of thing, I think, future oriented, you know, new world. If we're going to do that, then we have to realize we live in a paradise on earth, and it has to be rooted in reality, this new future age. We do live in a paradise, and we're creating a virtual one online instead. So balancing these two things, these two elements, is going to be very important. I wanted to read the degree that Mars is going to go retrograde to. So, you know, we have the moon in Capricorn and Earth, the sun in Cancer, which is water. So that brings that feeling element to the North nodes in Leo, which is heart. This is really a synergizing of all the elements here, with a big emphasis on bringing that air down to earthly reality, I think. So Mars turns around over the next summer, and it goes back to Capricorn, air looking back at Earth, right? And the Sabian symbol for the degree that it turns around on is a woman reading tea leaves. which is the ability to see the signature of hidden meaning in our occurrence, in every occurrence, drawing one's attention. The capacity to see in everything the signature of deeper realities. And that really is a higher octave of air and water, is this tuning in to intuition and synchronicities. And I think this summer will be full of them. And what I mean by that is, if you need to, my kids came out and they're showing me a dress. It's beautiful. Look, hose. Whee! So, excuse me, synchronicities. There they are. Pay attention to the kids. North Node and Leo. Synchronicities. If you are seeing same words show up, if you're having the same circular thoughts, these are things you need to pay attention to as a human, in my opinion. Creating rituals for ourselves is very important this summer. And, I mean, the degree of the Capricorn full moon is a veiled prophet speaks, seized by the power of God. Two nature spirits dancing under the moonlight. So this is like a get in touch with your consciousness, why you're here, what you're doing with your earthly reality, this one life story that we get. Are you unconsciously doing things every day that don't matter? Are you stressing yourself out by doing something? Are you friends with the wrong people? Do you not have any friends? This is a time of adjustment and finding your passion and moving forward steadily with purpose. I think purpose is a good keyword here. So anyhow, that's my full moon update and kind of a preview of the summer. I really want to do a longer video on it because it's really cool. Like I said, Venus is going retrograde. Jupiter's going to go direct. There's a lot of planets going retrograde, which means inner work, lots of earth. And I really want to share what I've come to learn about it. One little announcement, I have an herbal company that I started with Lindsay Ellis called Ecstatic Herbals. My whole point for everything with this ecstatic label is to get excited about life and to live in a state of ecstasy, which is a religious word. You know, it's this, I am just getting every little bit of juice there is out of this life, you know, and learning to find a place in myself, you know, and that's what I'm doing with astrology, and that's why I call it ecstatic astrology, and that's what I'm doing with plant medicine right now, and that's why I call it ecstatic herbals. And so anyway, next month there are 2 eclipses. I'm going to do a video on this, and me and Lindsay are releasing a package for the new and full moons and eclipses that happen, and soaps and bath bombs that will help you for the new moon, teas and incense that will help you for the full moon, and that will be attuned to the planetary happenings, cosmos happenings. And so that will be available for pre-order coming up like in the next week, hopefully, and delivery the week after that. Small batch. We're just trying it out here and seeing what people think. So anyway, I hope everyone has a wonderful full moon tonight, and you can get in touch with me, ecstaticastrology@gmail.com, for a reading, or on my Facebook. And you can get in touch with us on Facebook, Ecstatic Herbals. Notice I'm still on doing the Facebook thing, even though I talked about it. But also email ecstaticastrology@gmail.com. Love you guys. Bye-bye.